which goalie tandem in the NHL is the best one starting next season?
Yeah, so after hearing what Fleury had to say and the way Leonard played when he got to Vegas and in the postseason, it's hard to not want to go with them. I think that Fleury has a bounce back year. Last season, 27, 16, and 5, 2.77 goals against average, 905 save. That's not great for Fleury. Fleury can do better. I know he'll do better in a lesser role. And for Robin Leonard, 19, 10, and 5, 2.89 goals against average, 920 save. When he first got to Vegas, he was 3-0. I think he was allowing under 1.5 goals per game, 940, 935 save percentage. And in the playoffs, he played well, had a little hiccups here and there, but he is so good. And I can't wait to see what he does. And both of them, if you want to say who has the best, you look around the league, there's a lot of good goalie tandems, but you also have a lot of teams where there's a number one goalie and that's it.
Yep.
A guy like Vasilevsky, where he might be the best goalie in the league, but you can't count him a goalie tandem when his backup's probably going to play maybe 10 games, 15 games, and he's a no-name or whoever the case may be. So you look at this, and it's not a backup starter. It's a 1A and a 1B, and I think that Fleury he's got a lot more left in the tank, I think. And in the lesser role, I think you see his stats climbing with the Pietrangelo joining the team.
Yep.
Yes, they lose Schmidt, but overall, the way this Vegas team plays, it bodes well. It's a similar system to that of the Islanders where the goaltenders they find a way to make the lives a lot easier for the netminders. And I think that, yes, comparing it, well, who's going to, goal saved above average? Some teams are going to have their goaltenders stand out and play absolutely unreal. Like, look at Detroit. You have Thomas Greiss and Bernier on a team that's abysmal. But they might play really freaking well. Both those goals saved above average, Greiss is very good at that, is controlling his rebounds, all that kind of stuff. They might put up great numbers despite the winning-loss record. But for me, I think it's going to be Robin Leonard and a bounce-back year for Fleury to make the best tandem in the league and take that Jennings trophy.
So this was very tough for me because there's a lot. We talked about all of them. You mentioned a few of them, but Bishop Kudobin is a great one in Dallas, right? Raskalak, Leonard Fleury, your pick, Shesterkin Georgiev now, Price and Allen, even Blackwood and Crawford. But my pick is going to be the tandem in Arizona, which to me is one of the most underrated goalie tandems in the whole entire league, in Darcy Kemper and Antti Raanta. And last year they were terrific. Darcy Kemper finally got the recognition he deserved in the postseason, absolutely standing on his head and carrying an Arizona team to, even though they were eliminated, he was the only reason they were even competitive in that series. So you look at their numbers last year. Kemper went 16-11-2. He had a 2.22 goals against average and a 928 save percentage. He had a goal saved above average of 16.65 and led all netminders with over 25 starts. He had 75.9% of his 39 starts were quality starts, which is unreal. His counterpart and backup, if you want to call him that, is Antti Raanta. He had a 59.4 quality start percentage, had 15 wins, a 2.63 goals against average, and had a goal saved above average of 11.69. So you look at those numbers, the two of them combined had over 67% of their starts were quality, and the league average is 53 for a goaltender. So the two of them combined had better than one goalie's average, which to me is absurd. You look at how good they were together. They're still together this year. When Raanta gets a little banged up, Kemper steps in. When Kemper gets banged up, Raanta steps in. They don't seem to miss a beat. So for me, they're going to have to stand on their head this year because of the lack of offense around them now with Taylor Hall's departure. But they are good enough to carry and get a couple of wins for their teams, regardless of which guy's in goal.
I think it's a sin that Kemper does not get enough credit.
Yep.
He comes up with the Wild. No, doesn't really do much there. He gets dealt. He's now with Arizona, and at times he looks unbeatable. When he's locked on, he went on a stretch this year, earlier on in the season, where he was just locked in shutouts, less than 2 goals a game, making unreal saves. I mean, this is the Kemper the league's been waiting for. And I think that there was, you talk about Markstrom with Vancouver now on Calgary. Both of those two were surprising. I don't know if it's surprisingly. You knew Markstrom, how good he was. You knew Kemper, obviously they're in the NHL, but they took an extra level to their play, and they played so well. And you look at Vancouver with Markstrom, and he was a main reason why they were where they were. Yep. And for Arizona, Kemper needs to get a lot of the credit because he kept them in games, and even in the playoffs, it wasn't easy. And Kemper did all he could.
Well, but they were completely outmatched by Colorado.
Yeah. Oh,
he was facing. I've never seen a goalie actually have to face that many point blank shots from absolute snipers. And the one thing we were saying the whole time was, don't take penalties, and they just kept running out Colorado's power play unit, which was just torching them the whole series. You know who we left off this list out of examples too for a tandem? Yeah.
Yeah, Martin Jones and Devin Dubnyk.
No, definitely not. They're probably the worst tandem I actually ever seen. But at the same time, there's another Metro Division team that showcased a goaltending tandem, which was completely unexpected.
Can I guess?
You can guess.
Are you talking about the Flyers?
No.
Oh, are you talking about the Carolina Hurricanes?
Nope.
Who are you talking about?
Columbus, Elvis Merzlikins, and Jonas Korpisalo. That's a very good one too.
Well, but look at Carolina though. Also, the way Mrazek and Reimer played,
they played above their heads in the postseason, but numbers wise, Reimer had a very good year. Mrazek very average.
We forgot about Columbus. That's a tough one, just for the fact that it's pretty much for both of them one season. You're not even for Merzlikins. It's
the same reason I didn't put Varlamov and Sorokin on it, because we've never seen Sorokin play yet, so you can't really include them. But there's a lot of good goalie tandems, and a lot of them are in the Metro.
Well, we talked about it. I mean, even looking at Carter Hart, who's played really well in the playoffs, and Brian Elliott, who didn't play. He had an .899 save percentage during the regular season, but still a tandem. Still a reason why the Flyers were where they were. You look at, let's talk about a team that don't have tandems. Let's start with the Metro. You have Tampa. Not Tampa's not the Metro. Let's start with the Atlantic. It's easier. I want to go with them anyway. So Vasilevsky.
Yep.
What other teams are just pure number ones? And I mean, you look at even Ottawa right now. There's no tandem in Ottawa.
There's no goalie.
It's Matt Murray show, but even barely him. But you look at
I don't trust Matt Murray, especially on that young of a team, to be a legitimate number one goaltender.
I don't trust Matt Murray either. I'm just saying that you're looking at a team that don't have. I mean, look at Washington right now. I think you have a tandem there with Lundqvist and Samsonov. I think that's going to be a really good tandem. And you look at Toronto. It's Anderson. That's it.
Yep.
It's Anderson. That's it. Florida, it really is just Bobrovsky.
Well, their backup played well in his 12 starts.
He did play well, but I wouldn't call him.
Do you trust him? Yes, exactly.
I like what you said about Montreal. That could be
Montreal's a very low-key tandem because of how good Jake Allen played last year. Jake Allen surprised everybody with his role as a backup, and now he's backing up Carey Price, who is considered one of the best goalies in the league, even though his numbers last season were nowhere close to the top.
And then you look at Buffalo doesn't have a goalie, really. No. And Detroit's got Bernier and Grice, which that's going to be a tandem. It's going to be a tandem for sure. But the question is, how good of a tandem are they going to be? They're going to have a rough life there. It's going to be a tough one. It's going to be you have to go. Your GSAA is going to have to be 25 plus for them to even win games at times. So
Thomas Greiss going from the defensive structure that is the New York Islanders under Coach Barry Trotz to the defensive lapse that is the Detroit Red Wings is going to be one of the most exhilarating transitions to watch, just because of the fact that I like Thomas Greiss. I think he's a consummate professional, and he's going from a place where he kind of found himself, made so many big saves, and the only type of save he's going to have to make next year is big saves. We watched Jimmy Howard just get absolutely shredded because they have no defensive structure. They're all young guys, and now to make matters worse, you are adding Mark Stahl to that.
Potentially others like a Boychuk or but look at the Western Conference, and I'm just looking through the teams now, and one that stands out to me is the Flames. You have Korpisalo and Rittich. And
not Korpisalo.
I mean, oh my god. You have Markstrom.
Yeah.
You have Markstrom and Rittich. And can Markstrom do what he did last year? It's up in the air. Rittich has been their go-to guy for a couple of years, but when it mattered, he wasn't prevalent. So I think that'll be an interesting one to see, given the fact that Markstrom's a starter.
Yep.
But you have Rittich, and I think he will get playing time. Just looking down this list, and I mean, that's pretty. I mean, you go to it. Let's talk about it. We got 6 minutes left. Devin Dubnyk and Martin Jones. Are they going to be the greatest goalie tandem of all time, or they're going to be so bad that you're going to just have to turn the TV off because it's going to be a wreck?
There's nothing to talk about. I don't have faith at all in either one of them.
Well, someone does.
We're talking about the same group that continues to sign players that are past their prime because they have this inkling of hope that maybe they'll pan out for one season together. Joe Thornton finally got his right sense and left. And I don't know if going to Toronto is going to help him achieve that goal of winning a Stanley Cup, but I don't think it will either, but he definitely has a better shot there than San Jose. And I know San Jose was very injured last year, and that played a role into their, very, very poor season. But at the same time, this isn't a group that, without Pavelski there, they're all getting older now. The defense hasn't performed to the way it is. Mark-Edward Vlasic used to be a premier shutdown guy. He's not that anymore. Carlson has taken a downward turn. Burns is getting up there in age. I don't trust that group to help out two guys that are the hottest or coldest goaltenders in the league.
All right, so let me ask you something. Who do you think is going to be the best goaltender in the league this upcoming season, and who do you think is going to be the worst?
Oh, God.
Well, the worst might be easier, so you can start with the worst.
I mean, it's tough.
Not including backups. Either the 1A in a tandem or the pure number one goalie. Which one's going to be the worst?
I mean, worst by disappointment or statistically?
Honestly, do disappointment. Let's do disappointment.
Well, I mean, for me, I think that it's. I look towards Carey Price at being a disappointment. Okay. I look towards Mikko Koskinen at disappointing again. And I know that he played well last season, but they didn't really help themselves out by re-signing Mike Smith and not doing anything to that goalie tandem. So that's to me the guy that I look at and say, I mean, Darcy Kemper could be that guy because he's going to be facing a lot more shots, not going to be getting anywhere close to enough help, and he could be in for a letdown. There was trade rumors around him, so that's another guy that could be looking at that. But to me, those three stand out without looking at any stats or anything right off the bat.
All right, so for me, the worst, I think, or the disappointing, I think it's going to be Jordan Binnington. He looked so bad in the playoffs, and we judge him based off not even one full year. He gets called up, goes on a complete run, does his thing, and then had not a great year this year. I mean, you can't blame one person for losing a playoff series. He did not play well when called upon, and it wasn't even close. I mean, Jake Allen, good for Jake Allen to get out of there because, he's going to be with the Canadiens, and he's not going to have a huge, huge role, but he'll have a similar role to what he had this past year where he had great numbers. And Binnington now doesn't have the support. Yep. It was easy to say, Binnington wasn't great, but Jake Allen was really good. So this, you didn't talk about him. You talked about the St. Louis Blues making the playoffs and trying to repeat. Now, if Binnington struggles, no Pietrangelo. Yes, they have Torrey Krug, but no Pietrangelo, no backup really. So it's all on Binnington if Binnington doesn't play well, this team is not making the playoffs. And I think that I just don't think he's as good of a goalie as we're making him seem to be, basing him off one good run. The Hamburglar is the thing that comes to mind. He had one good run with the Senators, and now he's playing AHL hockey, and he'll probably never play in the NHL again. And
I think that Binnington, though, played well last year in the regular season. He struggled in the postseason.
Well, he didn't play great in the regular season. He had solid numbers, but he was not the Binnington that we saw.
Well, it's hard to be that good consistently.
Oh, completely. But
so I think he was solid enough where you could say, okay, this guy can start and be a number one for us. Postseason time, though, he has to bounce back.
I just think he's going to be I think we're going to see more of what we saw in the postseason this year than we think. Because I just don't. I don't know.
I can't argue.
It's tough. I mean, you can argue.
And that. Well, I mean, I can't because it's unknown. He had one great run and then one up and down season. In that same division, though, the Minnesota Wild just signed Cam Talbot. That could be a huge disappointment.
Could be.
I mean, he's coming into a new scenario. We saw when he left the Rangers to go to Edmonton, didn't really work out. They gave him a pretty good sum of money considering he's been bouncing between a backup and starter the last 2-3 years, and they gave him the reins to their goaltending situation. So,
well, I think we can both agree though that Vasilevsky is the best goalie in the league.
Yes,
I really want to see Gibson have
a team around him.
Well, they got Shattenkirk.
They did.
And I know he couldn't handle himself with the Rangers, but he joined a Lightning team that's really good, but it's still a smaller market. Now he goes to Anaheim, probably a smaller market. And he'll help them on defense. I just hate seeing Gibson give it his all every single night and just consistently lose. He's so good. We saw him in person.
Yep.
He's so good.
And the saves that he made in that game, and that was when Pittsburgh was like rolling
loaded.
Too.
Yeah.
After playing with Vasilevsky and Chell last night, he's the best goalie in the league. I've never seen a Chell goalie make that many saves. And first of all, the save where he goes behind his back is just unreal.
Yeah, he's just
the blindfolded glove save. He's very, very talented. But we're seeing a lot of good goalies come in, and a lot of them are Russian born, and a lot of them are playing in the KHL before coming here. So That's a trend. And the Rangers and Islanders are the two local teams here, and they both have a Russian guy that they think is going to be that next Andrei Vasilevsky type that's going to steal games.